Okay guys, today we are going to be learning about text fields in the GUI. Text fields are extremely important as they allow the user to type their own input. When we enter our usernames and passwords to log in anywhere, we are using a text field. Most of the programs that you have been doing have involved the output box in the programming software. However, in a real program, this won't make sense. We need output to actually get outputted in the GUI. Learning how to use text fields effectively will be the first major step in making proper GUI that can come to life. This video might be a bit long, so if you ever feel like the video feels too slow for you, then just adjust the speed in the playback settings of YouTube. I will now let Samesh start the lesson.
Alright guys, so as Jess and John mentioned, we are going to be learning how to use the text field in JFrame. So I'm just using the same GUI program that I was using before. And if you guys don't know how to actually get to this part, make sure you guys watch the previous video because the skills are going to be getting added on top of each other and they're going to accumulate. So you guys should already know how to get to this part, and you guys should know how to create JFrame programs. Remember, it's different than creating a regular program. Alright, so right now I'm just going to go back to the design and I'm just going to delete the two buttons that we already had here. And now over here on my palette, you can see all the different options of things that you can put on your window. And remember, I told you guys how to get the palette last video. You just have to go to, I think it was window, and then you select palette. Alright, so the first thing we're going to just do is we want to just put a label here. Now labels are just there to really decorate your frame. They're just there to put text on it. So, I can write really anything I want. Enter your favorite color. And now I can just drag this text field, sorry, this is not a text field. Don't get it confused with text field. This is called a label. So I can really just drag this label anywhere I want. I can make it a bit bigger if I wanted to. And if I really wanted to, I can go to properties and, adjust the font size as well if I really wanted to. And for this, I'm just going to make it, I guess, 14. And as you can see, it kind of overflowed over here because the text size itself was too big for the box we created. What we have to do is just extend the label and we have no space. So it's just some simple stuff you might recognize from like apps like Microsoft Publisher or like really any other app. So that's how easy it is to actually learn this. So yeah, I'm just going to drag it over here. And now we get into the good stuff. We're going to use a text field. And I'm going to drag it over here and just put it right onto the frame. Now text fields are incredibly useful, as Jess and John explained. They're basically a part of every single program. I don't think you can name a program or app that doesn't have like some sort of text field where the user has to, type their own text as well. So, I'm just kind of, moving everything around. Sometimes it gets a bit, takes some time to actually get used to it because, sometimes you can't really put like the, as you see what I'm doing here, you can't really put the label right on top of the text field. So you kind of have to play around with it a bit. And if your window does become big like this, you can always just reduce it like this again. So I'm just going to do it like this. And I'm just going to have a text field like this. And as you can see, it already has some text on it. So we can just click edit text and we can leave it blank, like how a normal text field would usually be like. All right. And now if we run this program, hopefully it works, guys. Hang on. All right. And as you can see, I can type anything I want in this text field. How easy was that? Awesome. So what exactly can we do with this text field? Well, now we can combine our knowledge of what we learned from buttons and actually make the text field become useful. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag a button and I might just say something like, I might just make it the same size as the text field and I might just say enter. So now it's kind of like an enter button that actually allows my answer, whatever I type here, to get submitted. And hang on, see, as you can see here in my thing, it kind of gets messed up. Once again, you just have to kind of play with all of these resizable gaps and everything. It can get really, really annoying. Wow. And also, this is also another annoying thing. If you double click anything on here, it automatically takes you to the source over here. It could be kind of useful, but if you're like kind of clumsy like me, it proves to be very, very, very annoying. Like right now. Oh my gosh. Alright, let me fix all this. You guys can just kind of take note of how I fix this stuff, and hopefully you guys get used to it as well. I'm just going to make this bigger. Alright, awesome. So now we have an area where we can enter some text, and we also have a button that allows us to submit our text. So, you know, I can say my favorite color is red, and I can click enter. Obviously the button or nothing really happens right now. So to really make a GUI program very efficient, we no longer want to use this output box over here. That's like of the past. You know, in all of the comp sci courses you take in grade 9 and grade 10 and even grade 11, it really just deals with stuff over here. But in actuality, like, who will actually use something from this output box over here? All real programs have a GUI, and everything is on the GUI, meaning if I wanted to see something, it has to appear here, not over here. No user is downloading an app where the stuff comes here. They want to see everything in one spot. That's what makes it efficient. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to add another text field that will basically be the output box. But the thing about an output box is I don't really want the user to type stuff in it. I mean, it would just be kind of weird, don't you think? So we have to change it. So we click the box. I don't know why it does that, but we click the box, then we right click, and then we go to properties. Now in properties, you can see the very first property is editable, and it's checked off. Well, all you have to do is uncheck it, and now the user cannot type anything in this text box, and it kind of got grayed out over here as well. And also you can edit the text to make it empty as well, and I think it should work when we click play. Awesome. So I don't know why it shows up as gray over here. Sometimes, you know, what you see in the final version is not always what you see in this window. As you can see, you can kind of tell by like the button styles and everything. That's just how the software is, but it still is very, very useful. And what is going on here? So yeah, once again, it is kind of buggy, but shouldn't be too hard overall. So you can just click these gaps. These things are like called gaps, and they kind of like add padding for your entire program. So you just have to kind of drag with them and play around with them. It really is just random every time, but it shouldn't pose too much of a problem. Alright, so now we want to know what we exactly have to do with all of this stuff. So let's go to our source, and we can minimize this by just clicking this button over here. And as you can see, those two buttons that I had at the start of the video, the red and blue button, they automatically deleted, which is why this NetBeans program is so useful. And another thing I forgot to tell is, look at what this says over here. Private void JText field 1 action performed. What the heck does that mean? Well, it's because we forgot to name our variables, guys. This is why it's so important to actually give name to these things, so we actually know what to put with them. So I'm just going to call this the color box, and I'm going to call this the text display, and I'm going to call this enter button. So when we give name to these guys, you know, they can actually do something. All right. So let's figure out how to make this program come to life. Alright guys, so whatever happens enclosed within these two curly brackets, that sentence did not make sense. Whatever happens between these two curly brackets is what's going to happen when the enter button is clicked, when the action is actually performed. So we know this from last lesson. So what we put in here is essentially what is going to actually calculate or do any of the behind the scenes stuff. Because if you think about it, there is no other point of interaction other than these two text boxes and this button. And as the user is typing their text over here, nothing is really required from the computer. You know, everything's been handled for us. All the user has to do is type on their keyboard and the text just shows up. There's nothing really we can really control with that. However, it's only when the user clicks this button when we want to manipulate something that's inside of this text box and convert it into something new or do something with that information. And whatever is inside of these text fields are considered as strings, meaning if you can find a way to extract whatever's in the text field, you get a string variable that you can use in your program. And to do this, it's a code that goes like this. So we know that that box, that where the user inputs whatever they want to put, in this case their favorite color, it's called color box. That's what we named the variable. So what we want to do is, well, for example, let's just start with the basics. Let's just say we want to do color box. We type it out, and then we click dot, and then we click set text. And then bracket, and then we can just put a string in there, like something like, okay, your answer has been submitted. This might be a bit too long. I'll just write your answer is, even that might be a bit too long, but whatever. All right, so what I essentially did is, and I don't know why this thing's not going away, but what I essentially did is when the enter button is clicked, the color box will be set to the text, your answer has been submitted. Now let's play and let's see how this works. So I just type in something like red. I click enter, and just like that, your answer has been submitted. I can click enter again. You know, obviously, if I keep clicking enter, it's just going to keep setting it to the same thing, but I can click, you know, I can click something like blue. Enter, your answer has been submitted. You know, it actually hasn't been submitted anywhere. It's just kind of just a text, like a filler text that you can put there, just to teach you guys how to edit stuff on, you know, this JFrame program. Awesome. So we know how to set the text of a text field, which is pretty simple as well. But how do we get text? As in, how do we get whatever's in here and then maybe set it over here? Because in reality, that's what we want to do in this situation. So what we do in this situation is, and I forgot what we named this, so all we have to do is just double click this. We named this text display. Awesome. So when the enter button is clicked, we want to set text display to something else. What we want to do is click text display, set text. But what do we set this text to? And obviously, you know, we can just, for example, we can just do F for now. Watch. And just as I demonstrated before, when I click enter, the F is there. And I can't edit this because we made this non-editable. I can't edit it at all. So, you know, no matter what I click here, it doesn't really matter because when I click enter, it puts F here. But this is pretty useless. We want whatever is inside of this to get transferred over here and, you know, get manipulated into something realistic. So what you want to do is to use a function called getText. So essentially what happens when you use this function getText, it will take whatever's in that text, whatever's in that text field, and it will convert it into a string. So what we want to put inside of text display is whatever's inside of color box. So we put that inside here, but we can't just write color box. We need to do colorbox.getText enclosed by two brackets like this. So it might be kind of hard to see, so let me put it out like this. Colorbox.getText. You can't just put it simply like this. It wouldn't really make too much sense, but essentially what this is doing is it's looking at the color box text field that we have and it's getting whatever's inside of it. And you know, you don't put anything inside these brackets. It's just like a function, like how we called functions before. You know, like how we were doing it before. It's the exact same thing. It's just a function that is for this color box specifically. And what this entire thing in total, when you reference this thing as a whole, it's basically a string, and that's what makes sense over here too. You know, whatever you put inside of here, as I told you guys, it has to be a string. And since this is a string, like what I just told you, you just got to put it in there. And obviously you would take off the semicolon as well. So now what happens is whatever we put in text display will now get converted to, whatever we put in color box will now get put into text display. So let's play it. So let's say my favorite color is red. I click enter, it goes to red. I select blue. Now it's blue. I select green. Now it's green. So it really works with anything we want. And you know, to make it even more intuitive, you would kind of want to make sure to, instead of backspacing every single time, what if we wanted to do so that, you know, every time we clicked enter, this entire field gets erased, like so there's enough space to, rewrite it again. So to do that, all we have to do is, on the next line, or you can even do it in the line previous as well, just go back to color box, which is the box that we can edit, and then we set text to nothing. You can just put an empty, empty space here, like empty quotations, nothing inside of there. And what that does is it's going to set that text into a blank string, which is nothing. And when we click play, we can see it in action. So we can do red, enter, it's gone, and it just moved over here. And now I have enough space to click blue. Now it's blue. Green. Now it's green. So you can see how easy it is, and obviously you can't edit this. This is kind of like the output box that the computer is telling you to do. So you can kind of see how it's so easy to make these programs. Even with multiple words, you can click enter and it gets outputted over here. But what really makes these programs useful is when you can manipulate the original information. So in this situation, I'll be like, put a quotation. Wow, that's my favorite color. Wait, no. Wow. Okay, hang on. Let me figure out a way to phrase this. So I would first say wow. I'll put a space. Wow, quotations plus whatever this quotation is, plus wow. Red is my favorite color too. So now what's going to happen is it's going to set whatever it is, it's going to set text display, the thing that we can't edit, into wow. Red, or whatever the user puts inside of here, is my favorite color too. And you make sure you put like, some spaces here to make it seem like a real sentence. And now it should work smoothly. Red. Wow, red is my favorite color too. And how cool is that, guys? You can just do anything, and blue is my favorite color too. The one thing you need to make sure, and just the problem with NetBeans, is if the user does something like this, like if they put a bunch of spaces here, all of a sudden the spaces gets transferred here too, guys. So it's kind of something that we're going to have to teach much later on in the course. We don't even know if we're going to get onto this because it's a bit too complicated, but overall, in terms of a simple program, you can see how easy it is to just type a color, and then my favorite color is purple as well. So you guys can kind of see how easy it is. And also, I think what the problem here is, because I added the space inside of these quotations, it keeps resetting to not the very start of the box. So hang on, let me close this and let me run it again and just leave it with no space. I click red. Wow, red is my favorite color too. Then when I click this again, it's already back at the end over here. So blue. Wow, blue is my favorite color too. Green. Green is my favorite color too. So it works perfectly fine. So for your homework, I want you guys to create the same program again, which is essentially just, enter your favorite food, enter your favorite animal or something inside of this text box. And then when the user clicks enter, it should then get outputted in a unique way in another text box. Now, if you feel like this homework is, a bit too easy for you and you want a bit more of a challenge, you can try doing 2 buttons instead of 1. And then when you click one button, it sends it to one text box. And if you click the other, it'll send it to a different text box. So that way you kind of have like 2 different buttons for 2 different text boxes. And make sure that, those 2 text boxes cannot be edited. Only one of them can be edited. And that pretty much sums up this entire lesson. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week, we are going to learn a bit more about radio buttons and how to create a more complete form with if-else statements. Alright guys, I'll see you next week.